Hey guys, I'm stuck in bumper to bumper traffic, so I figure I have a little bit of time to talk about my Uber Select experience. I'm on my second day, and the big difference is going to be that coming from Uber X to Uber Select, the volume is definitely different. You have to know your areas, and it took me a little bit of time, and just like with Uber X, I figured it out. Like, I feel like if I went back to Uber X tomorrow, I would get a lot more volume, just because I already know what areas, where to go, where the long rides are. Of course, you want to go to the airport, but you don't want to go to the airport when there's traffic. So there's a lot of factors. Well, long story short, the volume is definitely different. For example, on Uber X, I did up to, I think the most calls I did on Uber X in one night, and that's let's say 7 hours of driving, I did about 25. 25 is pretty good, but it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of the call, meaning like the ride. So depending what distance it is. So there's been nights where I've only gotten 8 rides, but I make more money than when I get 25 rides. Why? Because the 25 rides could be $5 here, $8 there, $2, 8, 5, 7. It's not going to be that much, where if I take a 40-mile ride, a 30-mile ride, I mean, I'm going to make like $40, $30, $20. So you're going to make more money. Of course, it's going to take you more time to get the ride done, but you're going to make more money that way. But you got to figure out what's going to work out best for you. Every city's different. I'm in LA. LA has different cities that for different kind of rides in a way. I mean, it's not like a foolproof method. For sure, I can guarantee that this city is going to give you that ride. But more than often, different cities have different types of rides. If you go to some beach cities are a lot of people that live at the beach. They just don't want to park their cars. They don't want to deal with hassle with parking. So you're gonna get a lot of 1 mile rides, 1 mile here, 1 mile there. So you just got to figure out what's gonna be worth it for you. Now, Uber X versus Uber Select, the big difference is gonna be that, for example, on a day that I work 7 hours like yesterday, compared to a regular Friday, on a Friday I would usually get about at least like 15 requests, 15 calls that I would take. And on Uber Select, I have it set up so that it only gives me Uber Select calls, and in those same amount of time, I probably got about 6 rides. Now keep in mind that a ride that I got that was 18 miles paid me out $50, and the $50 was after the Uber cut. Now the percentage that they take away, it's a little bit different with Select, but I remember with Uber X, it was I get 20, Uber gets 80. On Uber Select, Uber gets, it might be a couple percent more, but after the Uber cut on the 19-mile ride, I got $50. So it took me like an hour and a half to get that ride, but I got it and I made $50, versus on Uber X, in that hour and a half, I probably could have done about 3 rides and made like $30. So, I mean, I'm still trying to figure this all out. Uber X and Uber Select is completely different, but I'm making the most of it, and I'm basically learning how to work with Uber Select. You have to learn how to work it, because it's different. They're both Uber, but there's different methods of working it, different areas, different cities. I'm gonna figure that out, but keep in mind, guys, it's a difference in volume. Not everybody's doing Uber Select. Not everybody knows about Uber Select. Not everybody wants to pay extra for Uber Select. Now, if you think about it, it makes sense to me. If the surge is 2 times or more on Uber X, I might as well get an Uber Select, because it's not gonna be that much more. But even then, a lot of people prefer to pay the surge on Uber X, thinking it's still cheaper. Now, for example, last night after my 6th ride. It was 2 a.m. and I figured I'm gonna take my last ride. I waited like 15 minutes to try to get an Uber Select call, and I wasn't getting it. So what I did is I switched my profile to the Uber Select and Uber X, so it does both. And the way what happened is that I got a request at 2.5 Uber X, so that's 2.5 the Uber X rate. So I figure I might as well take it. My last call, it's 2.5 anyways, so it's close enough to the Uber Select regular rate. So I took the ride. The ride was 23 miles. 23 miles times 2.5. I want to say off the top of my head, that ride made me like 40 bucks. 40 bucks after the Uber cut. So $40 for that ride. Now, if you compare it to the 18-mile ride or 19-mile ride that I took with Uber Select, I made 50. That was without surge, of course. But sometimes you got to learn how to like work the system and see what works best for you. So I'm gonna keep you guys updated. This is barely going on my first week. I haven't even finished my week. So once I finish my week, I'm gonna go more into details about how my week went compared to my Uber X week. My Uber X week, I would do an average of about 50 to 75 trips a week. The most I did is 100 trips in a week. But I'm figuring that with Uber Select, I'm probably gonna do more like 40 a week, 30 to 40 a week. I would figure, based on the volume that I've been getting. But I'm gonna see how it goes once I finish my week, and I'll go ahead and post another video. Thank you guys.